cheese is poured over, and for the final flourish, like a sunny side egg on top, and then they melt that.
That sounds so epic. The most common thing people used to say to me, or waiters and waitresses, what do you want? It wasn't like, welcome, how are you?
Yeah.
No, it was, I'd be like, right.
Another recommendation from yet another person telling you to watch that show.
All right, yeah.
I feel like it's like podcastception, one podcast meets the other podcast. And you've been doing it for quite longer than we have.
I'd love 4 years, 4 years on and off.
During these conversations with different people in hospitality, has anything surprised you, or has anything kind of made you go, huh, okay?
I've learned so much. So number one, the thing I hear all the time is to not be afraid to take risks and just to go for it. For example, Tom from Tom and Serge, he was saying, look, you're going to fail, but who cares? Just go ahead and do that. And there were so many messages that were exactly the same. The other one is that, again, it's not it's not meant to be a hardcore emotional sort of podcast, but when people delve deep into their memories of childhood, when they talk about their mothers, their grandmothers, whatever it is, they get quite emotional, and you really touch a nerve.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we keep going, because not only that, you also have younger listeners who want to understand business but know nothing about business. So we have people talking about the numbers. What help can they do? What is a concept brief? What is an asset manager? All these kinds of things so we arm people to see if you want to open your business and you're very serious about it. This is the show. There's a myriad of people. Please, have a look. The other one is, I wanted to sort of take away from the stereotypical ego factor of chefs. So what I mean by that is, if you think of a sort of typical hardcore Michelin chefs, a lot of people, or the perception is that they're very egotistical and driven and arrogant. And the truth is, when you get them on a one-to-one basis, that's when they become the most vulnerable. I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
When you go out, and if it's not fancy restaurants, what's the sort of food that you love to host when you're with your family or your friends?
If I go out with my family, it's probably like Levant, because my family's been in the region for 40 plus years. So this is kind of comfort food, or Indian for them as well. There's like a little udon place that I always take people to because it's small. It's not like super crazy fancy. They hand pull the noodles in front of you. It's just like got like these anime things on the wall. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. It's like a nice hot steaming bowl of really good udon noodles. And this is all I need.
A big warm hug.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're looking for, right? Somewhere that just makes you feel,
yeah,
I'm fine.
And apart from the food, have you seen the service levels go up?
I would say the change I've seen more so in kind of premium and fine dining. I feel like the more casual places have always been quite personable, for me anyway. But I think in the upper echelons of the dining world, it's become less stiff. Definitely more engaging, definitely more personal, a few more jokes maybe or banter is what you're getting even in like those places.
No, but I think that's really cool. That's why I'm asking, because I think for me, yes, we know the food's sort of risen, so on and so forth, but I think that the levels of service have also definitely improved, because before it wasn't where it is today. It was very quick snap, no banter. Yes, here you are. The most common thing people used to say to me, or waiters and waitresses, what do you want? Wherever I would go, what do you want? It wasn't like, welcome, how are you? No, it was, I'd be like, right, okay, well, I'll have a little look. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Where do you think that change is coming from?
I believe that the change is coming from a few things. Again, because we have these guides here, everybody's had to up their game in every single way possible. It doesn't matter if you're a little hole in the wall, a pub, high-end fine dining, I think levels of service have gone through the roof. I think the government are working extremely hard to ensure that Dubai is a destination where anyone in the world can feel welcome.
Yeah.
So I think that's a phenomenal thing that they're doing. And at the same time, we do have some people also within the industry when it comes to front of house who are the heroes. They're really pushing general managers, restaurant managers to make sure that when you walk into a place, you want to literally feel that you're coming home.
Yeah.
And I think that sense of hospitality is absolutely crucial. Doesn't matter, again, whether it's a burger joint or a Michelin star restaurant, you want that level of hospitality and that welcome to be so important. So also when I'm working with my teams, especially front of house, that welcome within 2 seconds is the most important part, because even if you're angry, and we've all had horrid
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
and somebody says, welcome back, great to see you again,
Yeah.
same table, you're already like, "Phew,"
Yeah.
so if you have that sense of hospitality, I think is really key. Not service is separate, but it's that banter, that
Yeah.
hospitality, that sort of reading the customer.
Yeah.
I think that's also quite a gift.
And it makes such a difference because you remember that place and you think, oh, I want to go back to the place where, that guy or that lady like helped me or whatever. It makes a huge difference sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing, so when I was much younger, Raymond Blanc said to us, 90% of choices when you go to a restaurant on a date night is made by the woman.
Okay.
Because if she feels comfortable
Yeah.
and welcome and she has a nice conversation and that sort of thing, then that's where she will make the decision to go, because
I
you
think,
have
yeah.
that sort of warm feeling, or that person is there, or and the food is good, ambience is great, but that welcome, great lighting, obviously nowadays for Instagram, blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Important. Very important. So important. We need to check out the interiors of her
Yeah,
space before
so
we go there. Okay.
absolutely, and that's the thing is that and now I've become obsessed with lighting in restaurants.
Okay.
Because not only about the food, it's also about how you look, how you feel, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just recently I did a podcast with a company called 2106,
Yeah.
and they designed Pitfire, they designed
Oh, nice.
Rafe's
Yeah.
restaurants,
Okay.
and you know, there's so much going on. And the reason why I had them on is because when they're curating a space, it's the same sort of level as when a chef is creating a dish,
Mm.
and they really go into the details. So I was like, oh wow. And when you go to a restaurant, you never think about the designer. You don't go, oh well, somebody's actually designed this really beautifully. But actually the levels of
Yeah.
detail is huge.
No, I'm that annoying
Curtains.
person who like turns over the
Yeah.
plates.
Hashtag yes.
Yeah.
I'm one of those
Yeah.
weirdos.
Yeah, it was worse a few years ago, but all my friends are totally used to me being like, "Oh, this,
And the other
oh."
one is the toilets.
Oh,
The
yeah.
toilets need to be immaculate, beautiful, mirror,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing. But also, the old age saying when we were in hospitality school is that if the toilets are super clean,
Yeah.
the kitchen's going to be mega clean.
Ah, okay.
Because if they bother
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
really upkeep the bathrooms, then of course they're going to make sure that everything else is great.
Yeah. Oh, that's that's a fair
It's
point. You mentioned food memories, and you've also talked a bit about some chefs you've worked with in the past. And I want to ask you then, what is maybe a significant food memory for you from when you were a child?
So I was born in Venezuela
Yeah.
in South America, and it's still very much uh, home to me. My
Mm.
first language is Spanish, so
Okay.
that's my still go-to.
Yeah.
And everything about that time for me was family. So we had a
Yeah.
huge family. I've got four sisters, the only brother, so I'm the oldest man.
Right. Okay.
And so it was a nightmare looking after me, but we had a huge family. So it was sort of every Saturday or Sunday, everybody would get together, my grandmother. And the only thing I really sort of remember was that I was the only kid from the whole family
Okay.
that was always in the kitchen,
Right. Okay.
always. And I didn't care what I was doing. I just wanted to be in there. And all the men were outside playing cards or dominoes, whatever it was, but I was just in the kitchen. I was just obsessed with seeing the creation of things. And then that's why I was like, I love food, I love food, I love food. And I loved eating it, but also everyone was laughing all the time. It was just a happy place.
Yeah.
So that's why immediately I was immersed in food,
Mm.
you know? So for me, food is about love, sharing, passion, and even if you're having not an argument, but let's say a sort of disagreement with someone, you can still break bread,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and have this open dialogue. So I think it's so powerful. But yeah, as a kid, that was the first thing in Venezuela. And then when we moved all the way over to England, my first ever meal, no joke, was fish and chips.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, that completely changed my life because I came from a beautifully hot country.
Yeah, yeah.
We came to the UK in September, so it was rainy and
Okay, yeah.
grey. I spoke zero English,
Okay.
zero.
How old were you?
I think I was about 8 or 9,
Okay.
and Dad brought this huge bag. He opened it, and as he opened it for all of us at the table, it was huge. This smell just hit me, something I've never seen before. And then, of course, you've got those chips which are
Mm.
lathered with salt
Yeah.
and vinegar,
Yeah, yeah.
and of course that fish, and the fish was super fresh, flaky, incredible. It was just incredible. And then my nemesis now,
His fish and chips?
no,
Oh, okay.
even worse, because it's Milky Way from the UK, and
Okay.
it's kind of like chocolate nougatine,
Yeah.
and I love it so much, but I can't eat them too much because now I'm gonna smash the weight on. So,
Yeah.
I love them, but I also hate them because they're so tasty.
Do you think that young people aren't attracted that much to the hospitality industry anymore, though?
Yes.
Do you know why? Is it just working hours that's a major turn off, or do you think there's something else, or how can we get them back?
I
Because it's
think
an issue.
it's the psychology of things I think we need
Mm.
to work on. If I was to say to you, Davina, um, I'm gonna pay
Okay.
you,
Okay.
I'm gonna pay you to become a chef in 3 months, but you're going to be working 4 days a week in the kitchen, being paid 4 days a week in the
Okay.
kitchen,
Yeah.
10 hours a day,
Okay.
and then one day is going to be theory.
Okay.
I think you would pretty much know within 2 weeks of that 3 month stint whether you really want to
One.
become a
Yeah.
chef.
Yeah.
Now, what's happening is you pay for your 3 or 6 months and you're just in a sort of school environment where
Right.
you're just doing the day to day. You have your nice break, you have your nice life,
Mm.
and it doesn't really teach you the reality
Mm-mm.
of the industry. And
Okay.
that's what I'm saying to you is that if you change things around and you had that work environment, you'd immediately know out of 80 people, those young people, which ones of those are actually dedicated and which ones will say, do you know what? This is not necessarily for me, which is fine
Yeah.
because food has so many factors. You can become, um, s- you know, a photographer with food. You can become a full-time content creator with food. There's so many things. But if you want to become a chef, and that's what I'm saying, I think it's a dying trade because
Mm.
of this thing. If we were to change the narrative
Yeah.
to say this is what it takes and you still want to do it, brilliant.
Yeah.
We will give you all the resources to become successful, and that's the thing. And I wish that would happen because we would have more retention in the industry. And chefs certainly have, I mean, I'll say the chefs in the industry have certainly changed their mindset. There is no more of this
Oh
aggressiveness and
yeah.
that sort of
Yeah.
thing. There is, you have to be focused. And if you make a mistake, you make a mistake, say hands up, yes, chef, I made a mistake, and you just move on.
Yeah.
But it's the other thing is that when a chef is telling you, and I'm talking about chefs and restaurateurs, when the chef is saying you've made a mistake, you have to understand that there is James when he's out of the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
and that's his personality, and that's James, and you can go for a drink with him and have whatever you want. And then there's Chef James.
Yeah.
And Chef James is there to do a job,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
is to make sure that the customers are fed correctly, stakeholders get their ROI, so on and so forth, and to nurture you. You cannot mix the two. And I think
Yeah.
that's where people get things wrong because, yeah, but you were really nice to me yesterday when we were outside. Yes, but we were not in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where people need to understand when you come into a kitchen, you have your position, and I'm talking to you as your position,
Yeah.
And so it's not personal. It's never a personal attack, but I think that's where people blur the lines a
Mm.
little bit.
Perhaps this might sound random, but it was something you were saying that made me think about it. Have you seen the TV show The Bear?
I haven't. Everybody keeps telling me to watch it, you
I
know?
think you should watch it. I binge watched the first season over a weekend. I just ordered it, didn't do any of my household chores. My cats were like, "Are you going to play with us?" And I was like, "Wait,
The cats were like, hey,
please." And I said, "No, we don't have time for this. We have to watch." And I just sat there with my food because you watch that, you get hungry.
right.
Watch the show.
Okay.
Another recommendation from yet another person telling you to watch that show.
All right. Yeah.
It is great. If you are into food, and especially if you're in the industry,
Oh, my Lord.
it's a good
Okay.
show. I've been fortunate enough to see the journeys of people over the last 10, 11 years of doing this.
Yeah.
And, like yourself, just seeing all the amazing things you've done over this period of time is fabulous, really. And well done to you,
Well, thank
honestly.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying, like, when are you going to open your restaurant? That's the next one. So let's see.
Is that something you're thinking about?
Think about it every day.
Yeah.
Obviously, being a food geek, I study the market and I know the competition very well. I know all of them personally.
Yeah.
So it's just, what can I offer that has not been done here before
Yeah.
necessarily?
Yeah.
So I think that's what I want to focus on eventually, because I really want to open my space, because so many people ask me all the time, oh, where's your restaurant? Where's your restaurant? And it's just like, well, So I think that's something that I would really love to focus on. But again, I love to spread the word of the region.
Yeah.
I think there's so many phenomenal stories that I
Oh,
would
yeah.
really love to push. And I think if I wasn't going to do that, my dream job would be somebody feed Phil. Basically, going around the world,
Yeah.
talking to people about memories, talking about food, a bit of cooking, that sort of stuff. I think that would be, if I was to really have a Harry Potter wand, I'd
Yeah.
probably do that, because I'd learn far more.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to be gained from traveling and trying out food in different places.
Yeah.
And just then thinking, how do I get this where I live? I
Yeah.
don't know how to do this.
Looking forward to seeing your podcast on traveling and food
I mean-
everywhere in different regions of Dubai.
Oh, yeah. And then abroad. I mean, I ate a lot when I was traveling recently, especially in Portugal.
What was your favorite thing in Portugal?
Bifania.
And the sweets, did you have the
Oh, yeah,
pastel de nata?
I did have the
my
pastéis
God,
de
Oh my
nata.
God. Where's your go-to for them here?
I don't have one
Lana
yet.
Lusa.
I've had it there a few years ago.
They're good. They're still for me the
yeah?
best
Okay.
ones.
Well, now I also tried something which was described to me as a heart attack on a plate.
Oh,
It's called a francesina, and it's essentially like, think of a toasty, fine, but it's got steak, rashers of bacon, cheese, one other kind of meat which I've forgotten. Then it's like poured over with, like, cheese is poured over, and for the final flourish, like a sunny side egg on top, and then they melt that, and then they give it to you, and you just think, "Yeah, all right, it's fine."
that sounds so epic.
It was really good,
Oh
actually.
my God.
And I did it after climbing like a few clock towers and watchtowers, and I thought, I've done my steps.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Why not?
I deserve this. And then the place we went to, we had to walk up like a nice little hill to get there. So I was like, I'm building up my appetite right now.
That's the thing. You smashed the calories.
Yeah, I did.
You did your steps.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, so travel and food is quite good for you, I
Great
think.
for the soul.
Great for the soul, which brings me wonderfully into my next question, which is, what is it that nourishes your soul?
I think for me is always being around my family and my wife. That's really important to me. And of course, I think just being curious about people's journeys with food, really. That's what really nourishes my soul. Back in the day, I would have said, yeah, being in the kitchen on the past, blah, blah, blah. But I've changed. So definitely being with family, sharing dishes, and again, listening to people's amazing stories. That for me, it's such a huge honor for me to have that space to be able to do that, and to really just learn so much and then push it out to a wider audience.